Well, let's cross now to Washington and speak to Melinda Haring, who's Deputy Director of the Eurasia Center at the Atlantic Council think tank. Great to get you on the program with your thoughts, Melinda. You know, just looking at the reports from our correspondents there, the fighting is obviously intensifying. What's your sense now of where Russia stands in this conflict, and will it be able to sustain this attack any longer?
It's nice to be here with you. So Russia is making slow but steady progress. We need to be watching what they're doing in the Black Sea region. You had a great report on what's happening in Kherson, but I'm deeply worried about the humanitarian catastrophe in Mariupol. There's many hundreds of thousands of people who don't have power, water, fuel, and food, and they're melting snow to get drinking water. And the situation is very, very dire. And I think what Vladimir Putin is going to do is he's going to replicate the tactics that he's put in place in Mariupol. And some people are calling it the Aleppo strategy, which is indiscriminate civilian bombing in both Kharkiv and Kiev, the two largest cities in Ukraine. I think that's what we're going to see next. The humanitarian situation is going to get worse and worse. Yes, the Ukrainians are fighting heroically, but the Russians are making sort of slow but steady progress.
Yeah, Melinda, on that Aleppo strategy, you know, we have heard that that is basically the playbook President Putin is using in this conflict, in this war. But there's also talks taking place, right, between Russia and Ukraine. Is any sign of a diplomatic solution to this possible?
I don't understand why Vladimir Putin would negotiate, right? He's still in charge. The war hasn't gone as he thought it would. He thought it would be a piece of cake, that he would march into Kiev in 3 days and that he'd be able to get rid of Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. But we haven't given him any reason to negotiate. The West has, of course, put very strong sanctions into place, and we've provided defensive material to Ukraine. But we haven't put a no-fly zone into place. And Putin is still in charge. He's not going to negotiate until he's forced to. So, yes, it's good that we're talking. Let's see if we can negotiate some kind of real humanitarian passageway. But he's not serious about negotiations yet.
So what would it take then, Melinda, for him to be serious about negotiations? What does he want in all of this?
He wants to destroy Ukraine, and he wants to rewrite the rules of the European security architecture. And that's fancy think tank speak for he wants to be the boss in Europe. And right now he's read NATO right. He's read the West right. He's scared us. Last week, it seemed like the West was going to get a spine and provide MIGs, which are old Soviet jets, from Poland to Ukraine. And then the White House got scared of its own shadow and backed down on the deal. And Vladimir Putin knows that the West won't put a no-fly zone into place because it's afraid of escalation. So right now, Putin is going to continue his tactics until the West does something more serious.
Yeah, and just briefly, we're running out of time, sadly, on this interview. Where does this end then?
It's a great question. No one knows. So it really depends on who runs out of artillery and men first. So the Ukrainians are fighting very heroically, but there are shortages. There will be shortages on either side. So the West needs to continue to provide defensive material, and Russia's looking for other supplies of material as well. What it means, though, is many innocent people are dying, and the West needs to do more to stop it.